You've been one of the groups that have been pretty healthy. You know, you've had most of your starters out there for spring. How nice has it been to have such continuity for? It seems like spring's usually a time where you have no offensive linemen out there.
Yeah, normally after the season, those guys are getting some sort of surgery procedure done. Normally you're waiting for like 5 freshmen to come in, and there's this big gap. And we've been super lucky to have 19 offensive linemen in the program right now, so that makes distributing reps good. And if you can do that, then you can actually get guys work. We've been in spots in the past where we've had 9 offensive linemen. Now you're just trying to hold it together and make sure you can run through drills. So we've been able to make sure guys are getting quality reps, getting better at specific components of their game without just having to like get in there and get into the meat grinder mode. So it's been very helpful to have the depth we've had.
What's it been for like guys like Roger and Mason, who I mean they missed a good portion of last season, and so what's it been like for them to have some fluidity, I guess, and be healthy in spring ball?
Yeah, because even when those guys came back, they were still not 100%. So they were still trying to figure out their bodies and weren't super confident in what they were doing. So it was good for those guys to be like, look, you're healthy, you're full go. Like now you can cut it loose and kind of get back into like their premier mode of play. Which even last year when we kind of got them to come back, they were still kind of like figuring out how to manage their injuries. So it's been awesome for those guys to develop and just kind of get good reps where they're feeling at 100% or as close to 100% as you can playing the snaps those guys play. Like those guys' bodies are never going to feel 100% ever again, even when they're 50 years old. So that's the nature of playing offensive line. It's just such a physical, demanding position that it just wears and tears. So it's really good to see those guys out there and looking fresh and moving around really well.
As a group, are you guys ahead? Because if I count, I think 9 guys started at least one game that have returned. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I think that's like the first time in my career we've had as much experience coming back at so many different guys that have been able to start meaningful games and get meaningful time. Now that's a product of we had a lot of guys injured last year that had to miss a bunch of times. So it's good that those guys have game experience. They just know it's you can never recreate it. And we try so hard to create all these situations in the offseason in spring ball that mimic what it feels like to play on the blue. And you just can't recreate that. It's impossible. Just the excitement, the arousal, the emotion, the energy. So it's one thing to try to simulate it, and we can say, hey, we're having scrimmage 2, and it's like a game, treat it like it's a game, and those guys are like, well, yeah, it's not a game. It's not a game. So it's good just to get those guys that have game experience to know, because they know, like, okay, I have to have a little bit more urgency in just everything I do, because they know what it feels like to have a good play on Saturday and have a bad play on Saturday. Like they feel that, so they know that they can work to put themselves in the best position possible.
With Cage, I mean, he had a couple decisions he could have made. He could have gone to the NFL. He could have maybe tried to get a major payday somewhere. I mean, for him to be here, how big is that for your group? And what does it say about him too, I guess, in terms of just his mindset, that he thought this was the best place for him?
I think Cage falls under that umbrella of guys similar to Ashton, where he is a bona fide NFL guy. So he knows that he can develop here. So he doesn't need to leave to chase money somewhere else. He's like, okay, what's his big payday? Ashton's big payday is what? It's the NFL. So he's not going to go chase a couple little extra dollars here and there and a car here and there, because they know like it's about the development. Like that's our whole thing, is guys developing, and like that's what the NFL scouts said. They've said, hey, we're really glad that he's staying, because we know like he can develop and he can still improve. Like as good as Cage is, like he still has the components of his game he's trying to work on and master. So he can do that here, as opposed to if he transfers, now he's learning a new system and he's learning where the bathroom is and what the call to the right is, and that just takes time. Where here he can just focus on his development, his growth, and be better than he has been yet. So we're real excited that obviously that he's here for his own good too, because it's going to help him develop and increase his chance, his draft stock.
In terms of that draft stock, I mean, maybe only for another week, but right now the highest player ever drafted from Boise State was a lineman, was a tackle. I mean, the history of tackles getting drafted here and the success they've gone on to have in the league too. I mean, just to say like, yeah, you can stay here and you can be a first-round pick at Boise State. You can make all your dreams happen by staying here. How much has that history of what the draft's done for this position here help? How much does that help with that?
That helps tremendously. And again, those guys that have been successful, that have gotten drafted here, those guys have been developmental guys. Like those guys have come here, maybe not highly recruited, maybe not a lot of people had a bunch of stars attached to their name, but they're like, hey, here's the blueprint. If you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to put in the time, and you stick to the blueprint over the course of 4 years, you can develop into a really good player. And that's hard to do. That's even hard to do now more than ever with the NLI stuff, with people leaving and getting frustrated. It's like, man, can we work without immediate reward? Can you put in extreme, intense work without someone patting you on the back immediately? And that's hard to do. And the guys that do it, the guys that do stick it out, they've shown that it helps in the long run for them to be really, really good players in the NFL.
What makes Cage Casey a bona fide NFL guy, like you said?
Again, I don't know. It's not me that says, like, when people say that to me, like, I thought Cade Beresford was a bona fide NFL guy based off his measurements, how he tested, his mentality, how he prepared, and obviously that didn't work out as well. But like NFL scouts, those are the people that are telling us, like, this is what we think of him. So it's not necessarily like the people's opinion in the building. It's people outside the building that see him, that see his ability, that see his measurements, that see his athleticism, that see his film, that see him practice, that are giving us the feedback. We try here at Boise State hard not to have like opinions. Like if I were to tell you, like I would say like every single one of my offensive linemen should play in the NFL. Like I love those guys. I know how hard they work. But that's just not the case. So I try not to get like my own emotions, my own opinions, like what are people that are in the NFL, what are they saying? And that's kind of what we use to kind of give guys feedback.
I mean, in the NIL world and stuff like that, what does it mean? Rogers driving a car, Cage got a car, like what does it mean for those guys to feel that support? Because oftentimes in the past, it's probably been more of like the skilled guys that have kind of had those luxuries or whatever. So what is it like for your group to see that support?
I think, again, the big thing here, like whenever we're trying to find guys that fit our place, it's guys have to be interested in value. Coach Danielson talking about this. Like Boise State has a ton of value for these guys, a ton of value on and off the field, on and off the field. And the cool thing about living in an awesome town like Boise is they love football and they want to help. And their Boise Nation is going to come out and they're going to support us, whether it's game days on Saturdays and being super loud and the conference championship, or whether that's local businesses finding ways to get guys a little something here and there. We're never going to outbid anyone. It's never going to be, guys that are chasing currency. So the guys that we have that are getting, little things, little cars here and there, it's because of Bronco Nation. Like those guys want to support the team. That doesn't mean you need to write $1 million check to just a random kid. It is like, okay, these guys have proven it on the field. Now people in the community want to help support them and make sure that they feel welcome. You know what I mean? And whether it's a sandwich or a hamburger or a car, like there's little things that the community does to support the guys. And it's an awesome place to be. Like love this place because of how much community support we have.
In terms of Cage's development, I mean, a guy's already been playing at a high level. What do you want to see him take a step forward next season?
That's the awesome thing about Cage. Like he is where he is at now because he's always hungry for growth. He's always hungry for development. So he's calling like former Boise State players. It's like, hey, you played in the NFL. What was your process? How did you take the next step? So and again, that's the cool thing about Boise State is those guys want to help him. Like they want to give back. They want to spend a lot of time FaceTiming and on phone calls and on Zooms to try to watch film with him, to try to help develop him and take his game to the next level. So he's always hungry. Like whether that's him spending an extra like hour on social media, finding like a stretching routine that he can do every night, whether it's him like doing Pilates this off season, like whatever it is. So if you guys are in a Pilates class and you see a 6'5", 310-pound guy, it's probably Cage Casey out there doing that. There's not too many of those guys in the world. Like he's always just trying to find any advantage he can get, and he's humble enough to know like he can get better. He's not walking around like, no, I got this thing figured out. I'm good to go. People are telling me an NFL draft pick. He's like, no. I have to get better. Like what can I do when no one's looking, like in the evening at his apartment on the weekends in June and July, to put himself in position to play his best ball? Because he loves his team. Not because, again, he doesn't come to us and say, how can I increase my draft stock? He's like, how can I be the left tackle to make sure that this team has success? And he's a total team guy.
You mentioned you have a lot of experience, but you do lose Ben Dooley, pretty key piece. I know you got some guys out or whatever, but what do you see in terms of trying to replace him?
The funny thing, the biggest thing with Ben Dooley is the decimal level in the O-line room has gone down a little bit. Like he's one of the most vocal, like he would just be singing as he's walking through the halls. Like he just has that like energy that he brings. So we can find people to like replace how he reach blocks. Like that's not hard to do. What he's going to be hard to do is like just all the intangibles, like the way he communicates, his enthusiasm, like I said, his energy. Like he always had juice. He was always great in the meetings, talking and communicating. So that's where guys still are trying to fill the void. Like we haven't done that yet in this spring. Like we're still trying to fill the void that Ben left, not necessarily on the football field, but all the other things. And we won't probably get in that rhythm, and that guy won't really emerge until like middle of fall camp, realistically, when someone's like, okay, that's the guy that's kind of like filling the space that Ben left.
It's competition like a right tackle.
Extremely competitive right now. Extremely competitive. So Halls obviously did a great job for us last year. He hasn't been able to take a snap. He's going to be working back all summer. We had Jake Steele out there getting some reps. He took some reps last fall camp for us. We had Miles out there getting reps. We had Dalen Matoyer out there getting reps. So it is an extremely competitive battle. It's going to go, I can see, all the way up to the first game, maybe even into the season. So like there is going to be a lot of competition, and again, that's what we want. Like we want our guys to be able to thrive under competition. So it's not gonna be like a cakewalk for anyone. It's gonna be really good, and we've tried to get a lot of guys in there to make it competitive.
Feels like there could be a potential of you could be starting brothers on the offensive line at some point. So I'd also like to see the Steele brothers. Is there like a unique continuity or anything like amongst them when they are out there together?
Yeah, those guys, I love those guys because those guys are like almost like cartoon characters when they get out there. Because again, they love Boise State so much. Like they have an immense, like deep love for Boise State, but they're also brothers, like love each other too. So it's fun just to see those guys interact. Even in the meeting, they're like holding each other accountable and like, come on, brother, like you gotta get this, like So it's awesome just to have those guys out there because they love each other, they love Boise State, and they bring a ton of good energy that we need. So they're definitely gonna be on the field at the same time for multiple snaps coming up this year. Like I definitely could see that.
You mentioned Miles, obviously coming from Ohio State, a lot of people saw that as kind of, a headline addition or whatever. What have you kind of seen from him coming in here? And you mentioned obviously he's battling for the right tackle spot.
So Boise State is a unique place because of the process here is so defined and so specific and requires so much attention to detail that from our experience, like when guys come from other programs, whether it's a Division II program or a big program or a little program, like it takes those guys a while to transition just because we ask so much of them. And he's a great example of that. As it seems like every week he's here in the program, he's getting a little bit more comfortable, a little bit better. So he's had a ton of growth over the course of spring. He's playing his best football right now. So we're really excited for him just to continue to kind of like figure out the way it works here, how we operate, and continue just to kind of get more comfortable and better as summer goes on.
How has Mason maybe changed in the last year? And I mean, maybe he was this way a year ago, but I feel like you just see him in practice, and he's so intentional with everything. He's so intense with everything. And even like when he's not in, like he's like walking with purpose to make sure that he doesn't miss like what's going on. But just how has he grown? Is there a difference in Mason considering all he went through last year?
Yeah, he is. He's like, he's had some injuries every year, but he's come to like a realization, kind of like, okay, Ben's gone, other guys are gone. Like, what's made the offensive lines here good at Boise State is like when you have John Ojukwu, physically yes, but like all the intangibles, like all the leadership, and Mason's going to do a good job of filling that role of holding people accountable. Like this is the expectations of meetings. Like he's in there in meetings and he's asking guys questions. He's like, how come you took that step? And what's the call? And he's testing those guys. Like he's creating that urgency. And again, when it comes from the players, it's so more impactful. Like the coaches, we can only lead so much. Like eventually the players have to take over. And that's where the PRPs are critical. June, July, like that's when the players have a chance to like develop their chemistry, their relationship, because they're the ones kind of driving the ship. Like luckily I'm not on the field on game day, like trying to block a 3 technique because I would get destroyed. Like those guys got to go take it over. So he's kind of like right there on the like cusp of like being like a bona fide leader of the room and saying like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. This is the standard. And if you're not about that, like there's the door. Like he's done a really good job.
What have you seen out of the running backs? You guys obviously have to open the holes for them, but 3 guys have pretty much taken the majority of carries this spring. What have you seen out of that?
That group's a special group. Those guys, again, it starts from the way like they're coached, the way they prepare. Like they know the O-line calls. Like they know how we're gonna block it. Like they are prepared at a high level. So then when the ball snapped and they have the ball, you're like, oh man, that guy's super talented, he's super fast. Like, well, they're prepared at an extremely high level. So I think that's what separates that room is there's a bunch of running back rooms in the country that have really fast guys or guys that can break tackles. Like obviously our guys can do that, but also the way that they're coached, the way that they conceptually see the game they are like on that next level. So super excited for them. Obviously, it's gonna be different not having Ashton there. There's not gonna just be one kind of like guy. It's gonna be spread out. We get to kind of figure out who does what best and kind of put those guys in those positions.
Have you ever seen a player in your football life like Ashton? How do you put that into perspective, Coach?
Yeah, he's a special guy. And again, the thing that makes Ashton special, when people ask about Ashton, I don't even think about like the phenomenal touchdown runs. I think about like how hard he worked, like how good of a leader he was, like on practice when no one's around, like he's getting upset if the offense isn't performing at the level he thinks it should. So that's where he's extremely special. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that have similar measurables as him, but just like all the things that people don't see that you can't quantify, like that's where I think he was next level. It's just his ability as a leadership, his ability to work. He's special, and he's like always had a smile, always positive. Like he's a special dude. I hope he's gonna have a super long career. We all get to watch him see do big things.
Any more? Cool, thanks, Coach.
Let's do it.